Hi there, everyone. My name is Christian Eschbach, and welcome to another one of my album reviews. It's Alice Cooper time. This is review number 300, so we are going to do something kind of a little different, a little special. If you're one of my regular viewers, you know that I have been covering a ton of greatest hits albums. So, we're going to focus on these 5 greatest hits albums. But before I get to these 5 greatest hits albums, I need to talk about 2 greatest hits albums I don't own. Actually, there's 3 greatest hits albums I don't own, and I'll explain why I own these as I go through. The 3 greatest hits albums I don't own is The Beast of Alice Cooper, which is basically the greatest hits album with a couple tunes after the original band broke up. It's got one song from Welcome to My Nightmare, I believe, and one song from The Inside. No, not even from The Inside. The From the Inside album is pictured on Beast of Alice Cooper, but they don't even have How You Gonna See Me Now on there, if I remember correctly, or it might be on there, I don't know. What I am going to talk, though, about real quickly is Mascara and Monsters and the Definitive Collection. Mascara and Monsters was the greatest hits album that was released to correspond with the Alice Cooper Life and Crimes of Alice Cooper box set. 22 songs spanning from 1970, end of 70 until, or 71, I can't remember exactly where Love It to Death fell in there, and going all the way to 1989's Poison. Whereas the Definitive Collection is literally the same album, just different tracks. And it was the international release of Mascara and Monsters. I don't own these albums because I own the Alice Cooper box set. There was really, literally no point in buying this album for me. But let's cover this real fast, okay? So they both basically follow the same timeline, okay? So that's what they're doing. They're following the timeline. Both open up with 18. Then you get Is It My Body on Mascara and Monsters, but it is not on the Definitive Collection. Then you get to Desperado, both of them. Under My Wheels, both of them. Be My Lover is on Mascara and Monsters, but Halo of Flies is on the Definitive Collection, which is really interesting. Because out of the 2 songs, Halo of Flies is definitely the cooler tune, but not what I would have thought to be the more popular tune. Okay, then after that, we get into a big list of everything's the same. You got School's Out, Elected, Hello Hooray, Generation Landslide, which I do not understand why they put Generation Landslide on this at all, because there's songs that could have been put on that were definitely bigger hits than Generation Landslide was. So I do not know why they put that on there. I should also mention that Hello Hooray is the single version that was put on. Not sure why they went that route either. No More Mr. Nice Guy, Billion Dollar Babies, Teenage Lament 74. I've never understood why this always ends up on a greatest hits package, because out of all the songs on the Muscle of Love album, this song and the title track Muscle of Love are the 2 that always ends up on greatest hits packages, but nobody I know likes Teenage Lament 74. I mean, it's not even a song that was ever really played live all that much, according to everything I've ever read. But then we get to Muscle of Love. Oh my god. Most underrated guitar song of all time, man. That intro, that Mick Mashabir is a freaking guitar genius, okay? That line is just pure genius, and it really sucks that Mick Mashabir did not get proper credit on that song until like the 90s. Late 90s at that, might have even been the early 2000s. Really kind of sucks on his behalf, because dude could rocked it right the hell out on that one. After that, we go into Only Women Bleed, which, yes, I understand why it's on there, fine. Department of Youth, okay. Welcome to My Nightmare, for sure. But it's not the full version of Welcome to My Nightmare. It's a cut down version of Welcome to My Nightmare. It's the single version. So it doesn't have the cool, awesome jam instrumental-y section, right? Then we get into all the goddamn ballads. I mean, we already covered Only Women Bleed, but then we got I Never Cry, You and Me, How You Gonna See Me Now. That's a lot of ballads in a row. Especially considering there are definitely other songs from those albums I think should have been on there, but because these were supposed to be greatest hits or best of or whatever, that's why those were on there, sadly. Um, then after How You Gonna See Me Now, we go to From the Inside, which is cool to have on there. I personally probably would have put a different song on there instead, but that's just me. Then on the Mascara and Monsters version, we've got Clones We're All. I love that song, man. That bass line. Boom, 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 boom. It's so much fun to play. Um, One of those songs I'd love to do a cover of, but you got to have the right band members to pull that cover off properly. Because I've heard other bands cover it and no one ever does it right. And then Mascara and Monsters finishes off with Poison. Okay. The definitive collection goes from the Inside to Poison, so doesn't even acknowledge the 80s even existed, except for the fact that Poison was in 89. But, so basically ignoring the rest of the decade. And then you've got Hey Stupid as the last track on there. Hey Stupid, cool. Now, I'm surprised that Feed My Frankenstein was not put on here, and this is one of those times where I say Generation Landslide should have been left off, because if Generation Landslide was left off, you could probably fit Feed My Frankenstein on there. And that was a much bigger hit than Hey Stupid was. Huger hit. I mean, it's still played live regularly to this day. Yes, I've seen Hey Stupid perform live a few times, but Feed My Frankenstein has literally been played at every single Alice Cooper concert I have ever been to. So why it's not included on here, I don't know. They could have left out Teenage Lament 74 and put Feed My Frankenstein on there. They could have left out, like I said, Generation Landslide, and put Feed My Frankenstein on there. Could have left both those songs out, and possibly could have put in Lost in America as well, which sadly Alice doesn't do live as much anymore as it used to, and I really think you should add it back into the show because that was a good tune. It was a really good tune. But those two albums I never picked up because I have the Alice Cooper box set, and I will get to covering the Alice Cooper box set. It's probably going to be Review 500. I try not to do box sets too often. They're a pain in the ass. Now, and I believe I mentioned Beast of Alice Cooper as well, which I don't even have the track listing on here. I didn't feel a need to put it on. Oh, I do have it. Okay, I did take note. So, Beast of Alice Cooper, which to me was not an impressive album, is School's Out, Under My Wheels, Billion Dollar Babies, Be My Lover, Desperado, Is It My Body, Only Women Bleed, Elected, I'm 18, Hello Hooray, No More Mr. Nice Guy, Teenage Lament, Muscle of Love, and Department of Youth. When you look at the album cover for Beast of Alice Cooper, it's got the From the Inside album cover on there, but there's not a single song from the Inside on here, which really doesn't make sense. And the other thing that goes with that is Beast of Alice Cooper, I believe, was actually was only an international release. It was released by WEA, which is basically Warner's European chapter, if I remember correctly. And I really, really think they screwed up by leaving. It was also released in the 90s too, right? So it's not like it was limited by vinyl. We were in the CD era, heavily into the CD era, and they could have easily put it on there to extend it, and they didn't. I don't know. Okay, enough of that. Let's get into these albums. So we're talking about the essentials of Alice Cooper. We're talking about Alice Cooper collections. We're talking about Alice Cooper classics. Keyword being 6. We're talking about Alice Cooper, Prince of Darkness. And the one and only Alice Cooper, Greatest Hits. Okay. So, with talking about these songs, some of these albums we definitely have some repeats on. Okay? 18 is on Essentials and Greatest Hits. And it's live on Classicks. 18's, Under My Wheels, same thing. both albums, and on Classicks Live. Be My Lover, both greatest hits albums. School's Out, both greatest hits albums plus the live. Elected, both greatest hits albums. No More Mr. Nice Guy, both greatest hits albums plus live. Billion Dollar Babies, I got it live on 2 albums plus on the greatest hits albums. What, you say? All right, so let's go into this. Let's start with, and I'm going to skip all those tracks I just said. All right, so let's get into greatest hits. Songs that you will find on greatest hits that you're not going to find on any of the other albums is Isn't My Body, Desperado, School's Out, Hello Hooray, Teenage Lament 74, and Muscle of Love. Muscle of Love's got to be played live more often. They've got to find a guitarist that can do it properly, because I've seen it live, I think, once, and it's just a brilliant song. It's absolutely brilliant. I bought this album back when I first started buying CDs. I've owned this album on both cassette and on CD. Because when I started buying albums, I was listening to cassettes. CDs came out a little bit later. So, because I started buying I didn't personally start buying, but I started collecting albums around 86. Yeah, CDs I think existed at that point. 88's when they really started to take off. I would have bought this somewhere around 92, 93 tops. And part of the reason I bought this is some of the albums were harder to get a hold of back in the day. You know, like if I honestly had been able to get my hands on every single one of the original Alice Cooper Group's albums back in the day, I never would have bought this. Actually, I would have, because it's the one greatest hits album that is part of the official package. And the artwork is really cool on this too. I kind of wish I had brought my vinyl copy, because yes, I do own a vinyl copy, which I bought later on in life. But look at the artwork on that, man. That's pretty cool. All the hidden details in there, stuff like that. I like the back there. Then you get to the inside cover, and that's really cool. Everybody drawn out with the original band and stuff like that. And it's really, there's something about this is just really kind of fun. They have a lot of fun with it in the inside too. Like the Alice used to take time and make albums worth buying. Really, that's the key thing there. Now, when it comes to essentials, a lot of it is similar to this one, but there are variations. With essentials, and this was released, this is also classified as a Warner Brothers release, so, you know, they probably still had the rights to everything, and they wanted to release an album. This one was released in 2002, I believe. And, you know, aside from all the basics, which I've already mentioned, it also has Is It My Body, Desperado, School's Out, Hello Hooray. No, I'm reading the wrong one. Sorry. My apologies. It also has Only Women Bleed, Welcome to My Nightmare, I Never Cry, You and Me, and How You Gonna See Me Now. So, Essentials is a lot of ballad bullshit. That's it. I'm out. That's enough to say about Essentials. I believe Tracy picked up this one. This one came with Tracy, because I know I did not buy this one. There's some cool pictures in here, but all of them are kind of recycled pictures for the most part. You know, stuff you've seen everywhere before, or modifications of stuff you've seen before. There is a little bit of a write-up in here, which is kind of nice, but that's it. And it's nothing impressive either. It's not something I'd write home about. You know, it is. And between essentials or greatest hits, yes, this covers a couple more years after greatest hits, but do you really need Only Women Bleed, I Never Cry, You and Me, and How You Gonna See Me Now? One of those maybe. 2 of those possibly. All of those no. And way too much ballad crap. And that was the problem. Once Alice started releasing ballads, it started becoming only ballads that were getting radio play for a while, and that kind of sucks. Okay. Now, the Prince of Darkness album. The Prince of Darkness album. This is an MCA album release featuring Constrictor and Raise Your Fist and Yell. When I bought this album, I did not have Raise Your Fist and Yell on CD yet, and this had most of the choice cuts from Raise Your Fist and Yell, minus 2, maybe 3. The album starts out with Prince of Darkness. Great tune. Then it goes into Roses on White Lace, which is one of my all-time favorite Alice Cooper tunes. Just recently got to see that one live. Oh my God. And I got to see Kane Roberts do it live, okay? If you haven't listened to my review yet on the Alice Cooper concert I saw back in September, go watch the review for that. Holy crap, man. Kane Roberts live was like the thrill of a lifetime for me. The child that loved these two albums and bought this album absolutely just lost his shit live seeing Kane Roberts perform some of these songs live. Which goes into Teenage Frankenstein. Also got to see that live. Oh my God, that was awesome, man. And then He's Back, A Man Behind the Mask, also live. Awesome. Those 3 songs all in a row on here too. It's great. Then we get into a live version of $1 Billion Babies recorded live in 1976. Now, I question whether or not the song was actually recorded live in 76, and the reason why I say that is 76 is when the Goes to Hell album was released, and there was no real tour for the Goes to Hell album because Alice Cooper was having, I think, issues with his throat. He's always had problems, I believe, with laryngitis or something along those lines. It's been a long time. And so I don't know if it's actually recorded in 76 or not. But here's hoping it was. Now, I, as a drummer, of course, love $1 Billion Babies. And I've spent years trying to master $1 Billion Babies. Neil Smith's version of $1 Billion Babies is a freaking nightmare of fills to play. This version of $1 Billion Babies is a little more stripped back, and when I first started learning the song, I actually based it more off of this because it was easier to get the timing down on it and to kind of get certain parts right because it sounds different and it was played slightly differently. And I do enjoy this version, and like I said, it inspired me as a drummer, but it's definitely not the best version live. From there, we go into Lock Me Up. Great tune. Simple Disobedience. Not a bad tune. Throw My Gorilla. I'm surprised that one's on here. Life and Death of the Party. I talked about this song before, but I want to mention really quickly. This is one of those songs as a kid I was not a fan of. As an adult, I love. I think it's a brilliant song. And then this album ends with Freedom. So, me personally, I would have taken out probably Simple Disobedience and Throw My Gorilla. And I probably would have put in Gale and Chop, Chop, Chop. Might have put in Only Got Time to Kill as well. But instead of having the live version of $1 Billion Babies on here. But I think having the live version of $1 Billion Babies kind of made it a little more worthwhile. I like the album cover as well, the artwork on here. This really is, if you don't want to pick up Constrictor and Raise Your Fist and Yell because, you know, you like Alice and you like certain choice songs from that time period, this is really a good greatest hits to have. That it covers most of the better tunes off of those 2 albums. The ones that I mentioned that were left out of here, those were, for me, personal preferences. You know, not everybody's into Chop, Chop, Chop. And the only reason why I say Gale is I really think you have to have Gale going into Roses on White Lace. That's just me. And I wish when Alice had done it live, that's how they had done it. Because even if he had sung it almost a cappella, and then had it go into it and have Kane take off the way he used to take off instead of the guitar solo, I think would have been a little bit cooler. But that's me. Anyways, not a bad album. Worth checking out. Not if you have Constrictor and Roses on White Lace. It's not worth it then. But if you don't have those 2 albums, that one's worth checking out, picking up. Okay, these 2 cover the same time period. They cover the, I believe, what is it, the Sony years? The Epic years. The Epic years. Epic Sony. Same difference. This one is half studio tracks mixed with half live tracks. This one is all studio tracks. Also, this one has the distinct honors. Let's see if I can find it here. should have had this pre-prepared. Now, there's nothing really overly cool on here. You know, that's all it is. Nothing else. But this is the part right here that is the most worth pointing out. That says Bruce Dickinson. The Bruce Dickinson put this album together. Yes, the Bruce Dickinson. Iron Maiden's Bruce Dickinson put this album together. Which explains why it has certain songs on here that really should have been on here as well. But the nice part about this is this collection's not best of, not greatest hits, which allows for more album cuts that are actually great album cuts. This one's just about getting the greatest hits out there and making a few bucks. So both albums have Poison. Both albums have Hey Stupid, Feed My Frankenstein, Love's a Loaded Gun, Stolen Prayer, Lost in America. Okay? This one has the honors of also having House of Fire, and It's Me, and the Jimi Hendrix cover, Fire. Good tune. Now, if you've ever seen Wayne's World, and you've heard the version that is played on Wayne's World, except for the vocals are Tia Carrere, I'm pretty sure this is the actual studio recording of it, and this one's got Alice's vocals on it, and obviously Wayne's World's got Tia Carrere on it. Awesome cover. Awesome cover. I enjoy it immensely, and I think the Alice sneer, as they call it, works perfectly on this song. And I think the guitar work was great on this song. Everything about the cover of Fire on here is really good. And then you've got the live tracks, which I've gone over because they're live tracks that are always showing up. But you got Under My Wheels, $1 Billion Babies, 18, No More Mr. Nice Guy, Only Women Bleed, School's Out. Now, the version of School's Out on here is pre-mixing Another Brick in the Wall Part 2 into it. So it's the classic version, which is cool. I like the Another Brick in the Wall mix-in just because it's something different. This is an album that so many people had, because they got it from Columbia House or BMG or whatever. That's where my copy came from. And I bought it for the live tracks. I didn't buy it for the studio cuts because I had all the studio cuts already. I don't even know why I own this album. I bought it on impulse because I had to have everything Alice Cooper. And I was a moron. That's the best one. And it was produced by Bruce Dickinson. So, you got Poison, Lost in America, Hey Stupid, Why Trust You, Love's a Loaded Gun, You're My Temptation, Trash, Sideshow, and Might As Well Be on Mars. Cool track list on this one. Between the two of these, if you had to pick one up, unless you would just want the live tracks, this is the better album. By far, this is the better album. Might As Well Be on Mars is one of the absolute best songs Alice Cooper released out of the 70s, after the 70s, before the 2000s, even including the 2000s. Like, Might As Well Be on Mars is, as much as I bag on Alice for doing ballads, Might As Well Be on Mars, I don't consider a ballad. It's a classic blues kind of tune. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And that makes a huge thing. Stolen Prayer is another one. I was really impressed to see that, it made both albums, because it wasn't a song that was overly played at all. Just kind of weird that way. Sideshow being on here I thought was kind of nifty. Because, it's just a good tune. You're My Temptation, another one that I was impressed to see on here. And Why Trust You, another one that I was impressed to see on here. I have not covered Hey Stupid yet. I think it's the only studio album from the 90s I haven't covered yet. I have covered a lot of other studio albums from the some of them. I mean, I know I've done Trash, and because I just did that recently. And even though that was 89, I still consider the 90s because it was more, to me, I mean, it was like in the summer of 89, so kind of just kept going into the 90s. And Hey Stupid, I don't believe I've done, but I know I've done Last Temptation of Alice Cooper. I should get to Hey Stupid just to cover off that time period, get over and done with. The whole way around, Alice Cooper has great packages. If you were to buy any single package, though, my suggestion would be the ones I don't own. If you need a greatest hits because you don't want to go out and buy all the individual albums, which you're just robbing yourself in a lot of cases, Mascara and Monsters is an album that you should honestly pick up. I as much as I do kind of appreciate the track list on the definitive collection just a tad bit more due to Halo of Flies and Hey Stupid both being on there, I think that there's too many other tracks you'd be giving up without it. There are 22 tracks on Mascara and Monsters, 21 tracks on Definitive Collection, but you'd be giving up Is It My Body, which I think you gotta have. It's a great Alice Cooper song. You'd be giving up Clones, and not enough people know Clones, and I think more people need to know Clones. But if you got the definitive, if you got Monsters and Mascara, and then you picked up Collections, you would have a lot of the key songs going right from, like 1970 right up until like 1994, 95. And that to me is where you'd be at. However, you'd be robbing yourself. You really should own the Killer album. You really should own the $1 Billion Babies album. School's Out is one of those albums where all the album cuts are absolutely fantastic and amazing. I mean, just like mind-blowingly fantastic and amazing. Muscle of Love has some really cool album cuts on it, and I think it's a very underrated album, but the key part of Muscle of Love, which is Muscle of Love, is covered. From the Inside, you need to have the From the Inside album. The one track they put on there, How You Gonna See Me Now? Lace and Whiskey, it's one of those albums even Alice ignores. I really do think that the 80s albums, some songs really do get ignored more than they should be, and some albums get highly overlooked. The Dada album is the most overlooked Alice Cooper album in the entire Alice Cooper catalog. It really is. And I haven't covered it yet. If you're one of my regular viewers, you already know why I haven't covered it yet. It is one of those ones I'm going to get around to covering. If you're not a regular viewer, it's because I'm desperately trying to hopefully get Alice Cooper's signature on it before I can cover it, because I already have Dick Wagner's signature on it, and those are the two main writers for that album. If I could get Bob Ezrin's autograph on it as well, so I could have Alice Cooper, Bob Ezrin, and Dick Wagner all on one album, that would be gold. That would be the gold. But I don't know if that'll ever happen. So that's it. I'm done talking about these collections. Like I said, get yourself, if you do not have an Alice Cooper Greatest Hits album, you're looking for one, Mascara and Monster is probably the way to go. Definitive Collection for those who want something a little bit different, just a smidge different, really can appreciate Halo of Flies. Other than that, folks, those are my thoughts, those are my views, my opinions. I really think that Alice Cooper Greatest Hits albums are fun, but they're not as good as getting the actual albums are. I'm a hardcore fan, obviously, so, I own it all. But these albums, really, when you think about it, okay? If you say you don't want to get Monsters and Mascara, if you went with, say, Essentials, Prince of Darkness, and Collections, you would have most of the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s covered. There'd be a little bit from the 80s wouldn't be covered. The early 80s wouldn't be covered at all. but you would have quite a good assortment to go with. If you got Monsters and Mascara, mixed it with Prince of Darkness and Collections, you would have an even better assortment. The only difference is you'd have a lot of radio singles, so the songs would be cut short. You wouldn't have all the cool instrumental parts. Anyways, those are my thoughts, my views, my opinions. Let me know what your thoughts and views and opinions are on these collections. If I didn't cover a greatest hits album of some sort that you think I should take a look at, let me know. That's what the comments are for. I didn't talk a lot about the actual songs themselves because, well, that's what I did doing the regular album reviews. I just wanted to do something kind of special for 300 and cover a bunch of albums at once. Especially after doing a run of greatest hits albums. Anyways, folks, leave me your thoughts, your views, and opinions in the comment section. That's what that's for. Hit that like button, that subscribe button, the bell for notifications. There's a link that goes to Patreon. Peace, love, take care.